So today we're diving into a song that's so much more than just an album opener. For Bring Me the Horizon, Doomed wasn't just another track. It was the mission statement for an entire era of the band. It was the piece of art that literally redrew the map for their sound and their whole philosophy.
But here's the crazy part. This song almost didn't happen. Its creation was, and I'm quoting the band here, an absolute nightmare. And it was that struggle, that brush with failure, that ultimately shaped it into one of their most powerful and brutally honest songs ever.
All right, so first up, let's talk about what Doomed really represented. As the very first thing you hear on a new album, it was the band's way of screaming to the world that everything was about to change. You gotta remember, before 2015, Bring Me the Horizon was known for this brutal, super saturated metalcore sound. But with Doomed, the first song on That's the Spirit, they just pivoted hard. Suddenly the sound was atmospheric, it was drenched in electronics, and honestly, way more accessible. This song was the bridge connecting their heavy past to their ambitious future. I mean, this song's creation story is just wild. It was the very first piece of music they wrote for the album, but the absolute last one to be finished. Vocalist Oliver Sykes was just banging his head against the wall trying to find the right vocal melody for its slow, deliberate pace. They got so close to just scrapping it entirely, but in one last attempt, it clicked. The creative nightmare he was living through was the story. It was the perfect fuel for the song's lyrics. Okay, let's get into the heart of this thing. To really truly understand Doomed, you have to wade into the personal and lyrical darkness that it crawled out of. I mean, just listen to these lyrics. They paint this incredibly vivid picture of severe depression, of anhedonia, which is the clinical term for not being able to feel pleasure. It's not just about being sad. It's about seeing the world completely drained of color and life, where everything just feels dead. That's the bleak, empty room the song pulls you into right from the start. And make no mistake, this isn't just surface-level sadness. This is a deep, philosophical nosedive. It's wrestling with nihilism, this idea that life is totally meaningless, and a complete surrender to pain. The narrator feels like the world is a vampire, just draining all the life out of him, and it leads to this profound hopelessness and self-destruction. And you have to understand, this pain wasn't just some abstract poetry. On the tour for That's the Spirit, the band would open their shows with this raw spoken-word intro to Doomed. That line, "I lost my wife this year," was a direct, unfiltered reference to Oliver Sykes' incredibly chaotic marriage and very public divorce, which was all imploding as the album was being made. It grounds the song's themes in very real, very painful tragedy. And if that wasn't enough, Sykes has been incredibly open about his battles with a severe ketamine addiction, which he had just gotten out of rehab for. He literally described his life at the time as an unmanageable monster. The song's story of a failed death wish, where he's begging for an end but is instead forced to stay awake, is a direct reflection of that horrifying personal fight. But how do you make that kind of despair sound, right? This is where the song's production becomes just as critical as the lyrics. It's an exercise in engineering emptiness. The absolute genius of this track is all in the contrast. The verses are intentionally produced to sound tight, claustrophobic, and tense. Ollie's vocals are filtered almost like he's trapped in a box or singing through an old telephone. But then, the chorus just explodes. It's massive, expansive, liberating with these layered, almost angelic falsetto vocals. It's like you're feeling that exact same emotional whiplash, from being trapped to finding this huge cathartic release. Which leads us to this awesome concept I've heard called hi-fi nihilism. You know, where most bands would just crank up the distortion and noise to show you they're in pain. Bring Me the Horizon does the exact opposite. They make despair sound clean, architectural, almost beautiful. The emptiness isn't chaotic noise, it's engineered with surgical precision. So how did they pull it off? Well, it's all about the details. The song kicks off with this distorted sample from the deeply unsettling film Requiem for a Dream. You've got those lo-fi filters on the verse vocals that give you that caged feeling. Then in the chorus, these massive stereo reverbs create a sense of infinite empty space. The whole song just breathes, moving between feeling compressed and totally expansive. But here's the thing. The song doesn't just leave you in that dark place. It doesn't just wallow in despair. It builds and builds until it hits this incredible turning point, a moment of profound realization. This line right here, "This is everything,"
After describing a world of complete numbness, the narrator makes a choice. He's actively inviting the pain, the rain on my parade, because feeling agony is so much better than feeling nothing at all. It's like he's screaming, I'd rather feel this horrible pain than this horrible nothingness. And boy, does he get what he asks for. The pain isn't just a drizzle, it's a full-on deluge. This is him acknowledging that, yeah, the suffering is overwhelming, it's all-consuming, and you know what? It's completely inevitable. You can't escape it. And this is the light bulb moment, the epiphany. If the chaos, the pain, the mess of it all, if it's completely unavoidable, then what's the point in fighting it? The only way to survive is to just embrace it, to find a strange kind of comfort, maybe even a twisted kind of love in all the imperfection and disaster.
And if you think I'm just reading into it, listen to how Oliver Sykes himself describes it. He talks about this state not as something to fight, but as a euphoric sadness that can actually be cleansing if you just stop resisting and let it happen. It's a really radical way of reframing how you deal with that kind of mental darkness.
So that huge personal breakthrough we just talked about, that doesn't just stay in one song. That epiphany becomes the central philosophy for the entire album that follows.
Okay, so here's how it all locks together. Doomed basically lays out the problem. The world is a mess and the rain is coming, guaranteed. The album's title, That's the Spirit, which is a very British phrase for just gritting your teeth and getting on with it, and its famous umbrella logo, well, that's the solution. The point isn't to stop the rain, because you can't. The point is to find the right tool, the right attitude to stand there and endure the storm.
And that's the final takeaway, straight from the source. This wasn't an album about defeating the darkness. It was about finding a way to live inside of it, and maybe even to celebrate it as this fundamental, cleansing part of being human. Which kind of leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? Doomed takes us on this journey from wanting to escape pain to finding a home right in the middle of it. And it forces us to ask ourselves, what does being resilient really look like? Is it about building walls to keep all the chaos out? Or is it about opening the door and learning how to dance in the storm?